Hey, welcome back, guys. Welcome to another lesson in Photoshop CC. Okay, today we're going to be covering in this lesson the combining images section of Photoshop and just a couple of the options that Photoshop offers to be able to combine images. Very easy. A couple of the built-in tools that we have available. And the first one we're going to go over is called HDR. All right. And basically what this is, let me go ahead and blow these pictures up a little bit. We have two images and neither one of them is very good by itself. Okay, the exposure of the canyon here is just not very good, but the sky looks great. Okay, and over here it's just the opposite. We've got great exposure for the canyon, but the sky is washed out, and this is a very common issue for photographers. Especially when you're taking pictures outside. Okay, so the idea with HDR is that we can combine these two images and take the best parts of each image to make a really good image, just one image that's really good. Okay, so how do we do this? All right, there's two ways to do it. One way is in Photoshop and the other way is in Camera Raw. So we'll cover both of those. First thing to do is we're going to select both of these. We click the first one, shift, click the second one, and then let go of the shift key. And then we'll go up here to tools and we'll go to Photoshop and then merge to HDR Pro. Okay, we'll just go ahead and click yes. Okay, wait for this to load. Okay, now we have this loaded into this merge to HDR Pro panel over here. These are our options, and you can see here's both of our images down at the bottom. We can zoom in and out with these little buttons down here, but this is already combined the images. We just have to use these options over here to set it to what we want. Okay, so we can control the radius, the strength, and these work very similar as the sliders in Camera Raw do. Okay, and just slide until you're happy with the way it looks. See, now that's a little too overexposed. So we'll just go ahead and mess around with these until we get our desired result. And I'm going to go ahead and take off some of that shadow, bring up the vibrance, make the sky a little bluer. Okay, and we get a pretty good image. We click OK. And there it is. Boom. Okay, so that looks much better than what we have over here with this underexposed, overexposed images. Okay, we get a really good mix. And that is how we do that through Photoshop. Okay. And so let's discuss the other way we can do this. The other way we can do this is we can just make sure we have these selected, right click and do open in Camera Raw. Okay, and over here we have this film strip panel with both of our pictures. Make sure we have both of them selected. Click on this little striped box over here and do merge to HDR. And now we just hit merge. It will save it as a DNG file. We can pick where we want to save it and then just click save. Okay, and now we can go and mess with the quality of the image over here. Okay, so whatever your preference is, you can do it however you'd like, but that is how we do HDR. Very easy, very neat way to do things, and we will just, I'm not gonna keep this, I'm just gonna cancel. And that is it. That is how we do it. Okay, so that is how we do HDR. Any questions on that can be submitted in the comments or on the forums in my blog, and I'll be happy to answer them, or others as well who are doing the same course. Now let's move on to our next piece, we're going to do a panorama. Let's open this up. I've already done a panorama in this course, but we'll just do a little refresher because it's easy. We do this through Camera Raw, and we'll just go ahead and select all of these images, open in Camera Raw, right-click, open in Camera Raw, make sure we have them selected, and it's the same striped box up here. We do merge to panorama, okay? Click yes. It takes a little bit to, what in the world? Okay, so right here we have the preview of what our panorama is going to look like. Photoshop automatically is going to line these up. Excuse me, I mean Camera Raw is going to line these up for us and stitch them together, and we can just click merge. It will save it as a DNG file, which is great. We have super amazing editing capabilities with this type of file, and we can save it back into our file, hit save, and we can now I don't want to keep this, so we'll just hit cancel, but that is our result, and we can just go through and we can change anything we want with this, with these sliders, and that is how we do a panorama very basically. Okay, let me go ahead and cancel that. Okay, now the last thing that we're going to cover in this particular lesson is going to be this multiple frames exercise right here. And just so you know, this is going to, all of these files will be in your exercise files. This is a little slide tutorial PDF that has been made for your use if you need some additional help as you go through this part of the course. So first things first, we need to open all of these pictures in Photoshop, and we need to have them in the same we're going to need them in the same canvas. All right, we want all of these to be layers in the same workspace. So we'll just click the top one, shift, hold down the shift key, click the bottom one, and that will select all of them in between. We can come up here to Tools, Photoshop, and then we can do Load Files into Photoshop Layers. Okay, and this will open one document with all of these pictures as individual layers. Now I'm going to show you, I'm going to try and explain what we're going for in this part of the course. What we're going for is we have a picture, we have 5 pictures of the same guy sitting in all of these chairs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chairs, okay? We want one picture of him sitting in all of the chairs. So there will be a whole bunch of the same person sitting in these chairs doing different positions. And so that's what we're kind of going for. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at this just so you can see what it's going to kind of be like. Those are the different pictures. It's not on a tripod, so it's a little uncentered and unaligned. This table is. We need the table to be perfectly aligned with each other in all of these images, which sounds really daunting and super hard, but it is not hard. So all we're going to do is we're going to come up here to Edit, and we are going to come right on down here. Let me see if I can find it. Why can I not find it? Oh, we got to make sure that these are all highlighted. Pardon me. Okay, so we're going for auto align layers. It was grayed out beforehand, which is why I couldn't see it. Auto align layers, will align these just as best as it can. Photoshop will go in and be like, okay, well, these tables need to be aligned. Let's align these similar pixels as well as we can. So we hit that, just click OK. Let Photoshop do its magic. And now we see that these are all aligned pretty good. Okay, so we can see this guy just going up the chairs. Now, how are we going to be able to see this guy in all of these in all of these images, or how are we going to be able to see all of these dudes in these different layers in one image? Well, it's actually not that hard. We're going to use what we used from our last lesson on selecting to be able to do this. But first, we can see we have down here a little issue with all of these layers are now not lined up, so we need to crop it in so that they're all the same size. And so how can we do that? Well, we are just going to look at this one. This one is the furthest one over. So we're just going to grab our crop tool, and this is actually a great time for me to explain the crop tool to you. Okay, with the crop tool selected, okay, we are actually going to, whoops, my bad. So the crop tool works pretty easily. We set the size that we want up here, so 4x5, and you can specify inches, pixels, just with either IN or PX up here and in these little boxes. This little button will switch them for you, but we do not want to do that. So we'll go ahead and line this up. This is okay with me. I'm fine with it being just like that. What we want to do is we want to make sure that these are correct before we do any cropping. And then we'll just go ahead and click this check mark. And that crops all of these to be the same size. Okay, so now we see when we turn these on, okay, we have a pretty nicely aligned image with all of these guys just going down the table. Okay, really easy to manage that. Now, another thing that you can do if you don't want to use the cropping tool, if you want more specific, is you can use the marquee tool right up here, right underneath the move tool. You can just come here. This is another way to get really simple crops. And you can select an area, and then we go to image and crop. Just like that. Control D will deselect, and now that's this exact same thing. Okay, exact same thing, just using the marquee tool. There are benefits to using the crop tool over the marquee tool, though, especially if we are going to be printing the image. That is what I would recommend, because that gets very specific measurements on your image. Okay, but if you're just doing it for the web, you know what? Actually, it's best to use the crop tool, because even on the web we have pixel parameters that we try to match. Okay, so use the crop tool, enter what the measurements are that you need, and crop it. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and turn on these layers. Remember, these little eyeballs mean that we can see the layer, and when we turn it off, it means that we'll see the layer, the next layer down that has the eyeball on, and the next layer down, and that is why we can go through these like that. Okay, so to do this, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit to our guy. I'm going to use the quick selection tool to be able to do this. We just want to have, you'll notice that I have this little air icon in my mouse cursor. That is because we have 5 layers selected. This selection tool is not going to do that. We need to just have one selected, and now we can start selecting. So I'm just going to come right in here. This selection does not need to actually be perfect. We just don't want to cut into the guys that will be in the background. So there's going to be a guy sitting here, so we don't want to have anything selected over there. Otherwise, this portion will cover up that dude. So we want to make sure that we are out of the way of this, the subject sitting in this chair. Okay, so we can just get this right here. We want to make sure we have this corner selected though. And that's probably all that matters right there. One thing we can do is we can just hold the Q key down to make sure we have everything selected. Looks like we missed a little bit of the shirt right here. So let's hit Q again, come in here and just add that to our selection. Remember, if we go a little out of the selection, we can hold down the Option key and bring it back in, just like this, okay? So I'm actually just going to add this in just like this. And that's pretty good, okay? For explanation purposes, that is good enough. And we can hold down, hit the Q key again. We can see we've got this guy selected. And so we are going to move on to the next layer. But how do we cut out this piece and just see this piece of that layer? It's very easy. With these marching ants around our selection, we can just hit the mask button. And when we do that, you can see right over here, this white piece in this mask is the piece that we selected. And everything in black is covered up on that layer. So we are actually just seeing through this layer to the next layer. And that's why we can now see this guy here. Okay, so now we want to repeat the same process for this guy. So we'll just go ahead and select. Oh, we need to make sure we're on the right layer. So we are going to select this. Okay. Select. Select his arm. Okay. Okay. Now let's go ahead and turn on our quick mask to see what we have here. Looks like we have everything pretty good. We cut out a little piece of this shirt right here. So we'll hit our Q key again, go back out of quick mask view, add that in, just like this. Right up here we have a little bit that we don't need, but I'm going to leave that for right now just to show you a little piece. We can get this little box out though. We hold the Option key or Alt key if you're using a PC, and we will just get that out of there. Add the head back. Okay, and that's pretty good. It's good enough. And we can just hit this mask button again, and we get our next dude sitting there. All right. So we have this little piece right here. How can we get rid of that? Well, it's very easy. We can just come in with our paintbrush tool, make sure we have our mask selected, not the image, but the mask. Okay. And we want to use black paint to cover up that piece, because black paint will hide that little part of the layer. So we just click. We need to turn up our opacity to 100%. And we can just very, very easily cut that out, and now we have it pretty crisp. Oh, it looks like we have perhaps a little error right here. Is that the case? Nope, we're good. So Now we repeat the process on this layer. Okay, with this next guy, we'll just select him. Okay, and do that with our quick selection tool, which is this tool up here in the toolbar. We'll just go ahead and select. Okay, select. Want to make sure we get his hand selected. Okay, so we have him selected right here. This computer might be an issue to have selected because it may cut into our next area. Let's go ahead and turn that off. See, the computer is going to be an issue if it is there because it cuts into our next person. So we're going to want to get that computer out of there. So we'll hold down our Option key or Alt key and just remove that like that. And now we can see pretty clearly our guy that this mask is not going to be in the way of this guy. We have a little piece right here, as you can see. This is why it's so important to have the quick mask, the quick mask button, letter Q. Okay. And so we'll just go on ahead and apply that. Remember, it's this rectangle with a circle in it. And we repeat the same process for the next one. This is our last time doing it. So we'll make sure we're on this layer. Come over here, select the guy. Okay. Make sure we have the hand selected. We want to get rid of all of this stuff. It's going to be an issue for our next subject if we leave it there. So all right, so let's go ahead and apply that. Hit Q, turn off the layer, and it looks like that's going to be a little bit of an issue, but it's going to overlap no matter what. So let's go ahead and apply that and cut out anything that we don't necessarily want. So hit the quick mask button, or I'm sorry, hit the layer mask button. And there you have it. We now have an image of the same guy sitting in different chairs, and it's very easy to do. It really does not take that long to do once you have practiced it a little bit and have the idea. But this can be used in many different ways, and it's a great way to learn layer masks and how they work. And so go ahead and practice this as many times as you need to get the hang of it. But this is really a great way to practice using masks and combining these images. That is it for this lesson. Go ahead and like, subscribe, follow the blog, leave any questions in the comments or the forums, and we'll see you in the next video.